I stood at the entrance of the Grand Meridian Hotel, watching limousines pull up one after another, spilling out women in designer gowns and men in tailored tuxedos. The annual Heritage Foundation Charity Gala. The event my family had attended for 3 generations. The night I'd been dreading for weeks. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Remember, Rachel. Be polite. Don't cause a scene. Your cousin worked very hard organizing this." Of course. My cousin Vanessa. The golden child of our family. Stanford graduate. Investment banker. Married to a corporate lawyer. Living in a penthouse in Manhattan. Everything I wasn't. I smoothed down my simple black dress. Not designer. Not expensive. Just black. I'd bought it on sale last month, and even that had stretched my budget thin. My heels were 2 years old, resold twice. My clutch was borrowed from my roommate. I walked through the gilded doors into a world that had once felt familiar, but now seemed like a museum of my former life. Crystal chandeliers. Marble floors. String quartet playing Vivaldi in the corner. Waiters gliding through crowds with champagne flutes and canapes. Rachel. I turned to see my Aunt Diane rushing toward me, her face a mask of concern and something else. Pity, maybe? Or embarrassment. "Oh, sweetheart, you came. I wasn't sure you would." She kissed my cheek, her perfume overwhelming. "Vanessa's been asking about you. She's right over there with the foundation board members." I followed her gaze across the ballroom. Vanessa stood surrounded by admirers, her red gown probably worth more than my rent for 6 months. Her laugh carried across the room, bright and confident. "I'll go say hello," I said, though every instinct told me to turn around and leave. "Good girl." My aunt patted my arm. "And Rachel? Try not to mention your situation. It's a celebratory evening." My situation. That's what the family called it now. Not a business failure. Not bad luck. My situation. As if I'd caught something contagious. I made my way through the crowd, catching fragments of conversations. Stock portfolios. European vacations. Private schools. Country club memberships. A world I'd been born into but no longer belonged to. 3 years ago, I'd had all of this. I'd been one of them. Fresh out of Columbia with my MBA, engaged to Daniel, working at my father's commercial real estate firm. We'd been planning a wedding at the plaza. Honeymoon in Bora Bora. Life had been a golden path stretching endlessly forward. Then my father died. Suddenly. Heart attack at 58. And the real estate firm collapsed 6 months later. Turned out he'd been covering massive losses for years, borrowing against properties, shuffling money between accounts. When the market crashed, everything crumbled. The firm. The properties. Our family home. My trust fund. Everything. Daniel left 2 weeks after the funeral. "I need a partner who's stable," he'd said. "Someone who can contribute to our future." My mother moved in with Aunt Diane. I moved into a studio apartment in Queens. I took the only job I could find, administrative assistant at a nonprofit. $28,000 a year. No benefits. The family had been sympathetic at first. Supportive even. But as months turned into years, and I couldn't claw my way back to their level, the sympathy turned to awkwardness. Then disappointment. Then something worse. Contempt disguised as concern. "Rachel, you actually showed up." Vanessa's voice cut through my thoughts. She'd spotted me, and now her entire group was turning to look. Board members. Donors. Society people whose names appeared in the Times. "Hi, Vanessa. The gala looks beautiful. You did an amazing job." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Well, someone had to step up after grandmother passed. These traditions don't maintain themselves." A pointed reference to the fact that I'd been unable to afford the buy-in to join the planning committee this year. Or last year. Or the year before. "Rachel works at," Vanessa paused, making a show of trying to remember. "What is it again?" "Some little charity." "The Children's Literacy Foundation," I said quietly. We provide books and reading programs to underserved communities. Oh, how sweet. Her tone made it sound like I'd said I volunteer at a petting zoo. That's exactly the kind of work people do when they want to give back. She turned to the woman beside her, a silver-haired donor in diamonds. Rachel used to work in real estate, but after her father's troubles, well, she found her calling in service work. Service work. Like I was cleaning toilets. My face burned, but I kept my expression neutral. It's meaningful work. Of course it is. Vanessa sipped her champagne. Someone has to help the unfortunate. And who better than someone who understands what it's like to fall on hard times? The group around her shifted uncomfortably. A few people drifted away, suddenly very interested in the silent auction tables. How much are you making these days? Vanessa asked, her voice carrying across the nearby conversations. People were listening now. 30,000? 35. Vanessa, I said softly. Can we not? I'm just curious. I mean, I spend more than that on my summer wardrobe. I can't imagine trying to survive in New York on that. She laughed, high and bright. God, I'd die. Literally die. My throat tightened. Don't cry. Don't give her the satisfaction. At least I'm doing work that matters, I said, keeping my voice steady. Oh, please. Vanessa rolled her eyes. You're a secretary at a nonprofit. Let's not pretend you're changing the world. You shuffle papers and answer phones. My housekeeper does more important work. The small crowd around us had gone completely silent now. Even the nearby conversations had stopped. Everyone was watching. You know what your problem is, Rachel? Vanessa set down her champagne glass, warming to her topic. You gave up. When things got hard, you just folded. Dad offered you a job at his firm. Uncle Marcus offered to help you get into consulting. But you said no. You chose to be useless. The word hit me like a slap. Useless. I didn't want charity, I said quietly. No, you wanted to wallow in self-pity. You wanted to play the victim. Poor Rachel, whose daddy lost all the money. Poor Rachel, who has to work a real job like regular people. She laughed again, cruel and sharp. Honestly, it's embarrassing. For the whole family. Grandmother's probably rolling in her grave knowing a Harper works as a secretary. My hands were shaking. I clenched them into fists at my sides. Every year we come to this gala, Vanessa continued, addressing the crowd now like she was giving a speech, and we celebrate people who make a difference. People who build businesses, create jobs, generate wealth that funds real change. And then there's people like my cousin, who gave up on ambition and settled for mediocrity. Who contribute nothing. Contribute nothing. The words echoed in my head. I contribute, I whispered. What was that? Vanessa cupped her ear mockingly. I didn't hear you. Speak up, Rachel. Use your words. Something inside me snapped. Not into anger. Into clarity. I said I contribute. My voice was stronger now, carrying across the ballroom. More than you know. Vanessa smirked. Oh, really? Please enlighten us. How does a secretary making $30,000 a year contribute to anything? I reached into my clutch and pulled out my phone. My hands had stopped shaking. My heart was racing, but my mind was crystal clear. You want to talk about contributions, Vanessa? Let's talk about contributions. I opened my email and pulled up a message I'd received that afternoon. From the Heritage Foundation. The very foundation hosting this gala. Did everyone here know, I said, my voice projecting now to the growing crowd around us, that the Heritage Foundation was about to shut down last year? Murmurs rippled through the group. Vanessa's smile faltered just slightly. What are you talking about? She said. The foundation was bankrupt. Years of mismanagement. Failed investments. They were 3 months away from closing their doors. All their programs, the scholarships, the community centers, the youth initiatives, all of it was going to disappear. The Heritage Foundation's director, Thomas Whitmore, had materialized at the edge of our circle. His face had gone pale. Rachel, he said quietly. Please. But I couldn't stop now. 3 years of humiliation. 3 years of being treated like I was worthless. 3 years of biting my tongue. Someone saved this foundation, I continued. Someone made a donation that covered the debts, funded the programs, and allowed the Heritage Foundation to continue its work. A donation of $12 million. Gasps erupted around the room. Vanessa's face had gone white. That's impossible, she said. The foundation's largest donors are public record. The biggest donation last year was $2 million from the Castellano family. I turned my phone screen toward her, showed her the email. The thank you letter from Thomas Whitmore and the foundation board. Anonymous donations aren't public record, Vanessa. The crowd pressed closer, trying to see my phone. Thomas Whitmore looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. This is ridiculous, Vanessa said, but her voice had lost its confidence. You don't have $12 million. You can barely afford rent. You're right. I can't afford much. That's why I don't have $12 million anymore. Because I gave it away. The room erupted. Everyone was talking at once. My Aunt Diane pushed through the crowd, her face a mixture of shock and confusion. Rachel, what are you saying? She demanded. I took a deep breath. 3 years of secrets. 3 years of silence. Time to tell the truth. When Dad died and the real estate firm collapsed, everyone assumed everything was gone. The firm, the properties, the money. All of it lost. But that wasn't entirely true. My mother had appeared now too, clutching her pearls, her face stricken. 2 weeks before he died, Dad sold a commercial property in Brooklyn. A warehouse he'd owned for 20 years. He sold it to a development company for $18 million. The money went into a separate account. An account only he and I knew about. He'd been teaching me the business, preparing me to take over. That account was going to be seed money for me to start my own firm. Why didn't you tell anyone? My mother whispered. Because the lawyers were circling. Creditors were looking for any assets to seize. If that money had been discovered, it would have been absorbed into the bankruptcy. Every penny would have gone to paying Dad's debts. And it still wouldn't have been enough. So I kept quiet. I let everyone think I was broke. And I was broke. I didn't touch that money. Not for rent. Not for food. Not for anything. Then why? Vanessa started, but I cut her off. Dad's debts totaled $22 million. I had 18. For 3 years, I've been working, saving every penny of my salary, putting it toward paying off what Dad owed. Last month, I made the final payment. $22 million. Paid in full. The Harper name is clear. Dad's creditors are whole. His reputation is restored. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. She was crying. But that still left me with a question about the remaining funds. I'd been putting my entire salary toward the debts, and once those were cleared, I had that original $18 million minus what I'd added. After everything was paid, $12 million remained. And I had a choice to make. I could use it to buy my way back into your world. I gestured at the opulent ballroom, the designer gowns, the champagne. Or I could use it for something that actually mattered. I turned to Thomas Whitmore, who was staring at me with tears in his eyes. The Heritage Foundation serves 40,000 children a year. When I learned it was closing, I realized I had a chance to do something my father would have been proud of. Not building another real estate empire. Not buying another penthouse. But ensuring that 40,000 kids would still have scholarships, still have after-school programs, still have a chance at a better future. The silence in the ballroom was absolute. You could hear the string quartet, still playing softly in the corner, completely unaware of the drama unfolding. So yes, Vanessa, you're right. I'm a secretary making $30,000 a year. I live in a studio apartment in Queens. I buy my clothes on sale. I take the subway. And I just gave away $12 million. Because unlike you, I know the difference between having wealth and being wealthy. Between status and substance. Between appearing to contribute and actually contributing. Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it. Her face had gone from white to red. She looked around desperately for support, but everyone was staring at me. My Aunt Diane was the first to speak. "Rachel, why didn't you tell us? We thought you were struggling because you'd failed. Because you couldn't handle what happened. I let you think that. Because it was easier than explaining. And because I wanted to know who would stand by me when I had nothing. When I couldn't buy my way into your approval." I looked directly at Vanessa. "You called me useless. You said I contribute nothing. You humiliated me in front of everyone here. But the only reason you're standing in this ballroom tonight, hosting this gala, playing the philanthropist, is because I saved this foundation. My contribution made your performance possible." Thomas Whitmore stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Ladies and gentlemen, what Rachel is saying is true. The anonymous donation we received last year saved the Heritage Foundation. We were on the brink of collapse. That single act of generosity allowed us to continue our work. 40,000 children have benefited from programs funded by that donation. It is, without question, the most impactful contribution in our foundation's 80-year history." The crowd erupted into applause, scattered at first, then building into a thunderous ovation. People were standing now, clapping, cheering. My mother pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry we didn't support you. I'm so sorry I was ashamed." "It's okay, Mom." "It's not okay. You sacrificed everything to restore your father's honor, and we treated you like you were worthless." I held her tight, tears streaming down my own face now. When I finally looked up, Vanessa was gone. She'd disappeared into the crowd, fled the ballroom. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. People kept approaching me, wanting to shake my hand, to hear the story, to thank me. Board members, donors, strangers whose children attended programs funded by my donation. A woman whose daughter had received a full scholarship to NYU. A single father whose son participated in an after-school mentorship program. Real people. Real impact. Real change. Thomas Whitmore announced from the podium that they would be naming their largest scholarship program after my father. The Harrison Harper Memorial Scholarship. 40 full rides to college, every year in perpetuity. My mother wept. Near midnight, I found myself standing on the hotel's terrace, looking out over the glittering Manhattan skyline. The gala was winding down inside. I'd kicked off my heels. My feet hurt. I was exhausted. There you are. I turned to find a man stepping onto the terrace. Late 30s, wearing a well-tailored suit, but with an easiness about him that suggested he wasn't entirely comfortable in formal wear. He had kind eyes and a genuine smile. "I'm sorry, I don't think we've met," I said. "Marcus Chin. I run a venture capital firm. I've been trying to get through the crowd to talk to you all night. I wanted to ask you something." He leaned against the railing beside me. "What are you doing working as an administrative assistant?" I bristled slightly. "There's nothing wrong with." "That's not what I meant." He held up his hands. "I mean, why are you doing administrative work when you clearly have sophisticated financial skills, business acumen, and the kind of strategic thinking most Harvard MBAs never develop?" I needed a job. It was what was available. "You paid off $22 million in debt over 3 years on a $30,000 salary. Do you have any idea how exceptional that is? The discipline? The planning?" I shrugged. "I did what needed to be done." "That's exactly my point." He pulled a business card from his pocket. "I'm launching a new fund focused on ethical investing. Companies that prioritize social impact alongside profit. I need someone to run operations. Someone who understands both the financial side and the mission side. Someone who makes decisions based on values, not just valuations." He handed me the card. "Starting salary is $200,000. Equity stake in the fund. Full benefits. And the opportunity to direct investment toward companies and projects that actually make a difference." I stared at the card. Marcus Chin. Managing Partner. Horizon Ventures. Why me? I asked. Because you gave away $12 million to save a foundation that serves underprivileged kids. Because you spent 3 years living in poverty to restore your father's honor. Because when your cousin humiliated you, you didn't lash out in anger, you spoke truth with dignity. Those aren't things you can teach. Those are things you are. I didn't know what to say. Think about it, Marcus said. No pressure. But Rachel, people like you are rare. People who have financial expertise and moral clarity. The world needs more of that. He turned to head back inside, then paused. For what it's worth, your father would be extraordinarily proud of you. What you did for him, for his legacy, for those kids, that's the kind of success that actually matters. After he left, I stood alone on the terrace for a long time, holding his business card, watching the city lights blur through my tears. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. I'm sorry. I was cruel and I'm sorry. I was jealous. Of your strength. Your conviction. Your character. Things I've never had. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say it. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, thank you. That means more than you know. Because despite everything, we were still family. I slipped Marcus's card into my clutch and headed back inside. My mother was waiting by the coat check, her eyes still red from crying. Ready to go home, sweetheart? Yeah, Mom. Let's go home. As we stepped out into the cool October night, my phone buzzed again. An email notification. From the Children's Literacy Foundation. My boss. Rachel, I heard what happened at the gala tonight. The whole nonprofit world is buzzing. The board convened an emergency meeting. We'd like to offer you the director of programs position. Triple your current salary, full benefits, and the chance to build something incredible. Let's talk Monday. I stopped on the sidewalk, reading the email twice. Then 3 times. My mother looked at me. What is it? I started laughing. I think everything just changed. She squeezed my hand. It didn't just change, honey. You changed it. You've been changing it all along. We just couldn't see it. 3 months later, I was sitting in my new office at the Children's Literacy Foundation, reviewing grant applications, when my assistant knocked. Someone here to see you. Vanessa walked into my office, looking different. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup. Hair in a ponytail. She looked younger. More real. Hi, she said softly. Hi. I quit my job at the investment bank. I've been doing some soul searching. A lot of therapy. And I realized I've spent my whole life chasing things that don't matter. I want to do something meaningful. I was wondering if maybe you could help me figure it out. I studied her face. The vulnerability there was genuine. I'm starting a financial literacy program, I said. Teaching money management to high school students in underserved communities. I need someone with serious finance credentials to help develop the curriculum. Interested? Vanessa's eyes widened. Are you serious? Completely. It won't pay anything. Pure volunteer work. But you'll be teaching kids skills that could change their entire lives. Yes. She nodded rapidly. Yes, absolutely yes. Good. We meet Thursday nights. Bring coffee. It's going to be a lot of work. She stood up, smiling. Thank you, Rachel, for giving me a chance. After she left, I turned to look out my window at the city below. Kids were playing in the park across the street. Laughing. Running. Full of potential. My father used to say that success isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. For years, I thought I'd lost everything. Lost my place in the world. Lost my purpose. But standing in that ballroom 3 months ago, watching my cousin call me useless, I'd realized something profound. I hadn't lost myself when I lost the money. I'd found myself. Found my values. Found my strength. The gala had been my moment of truth. The moment I stopped letting other people define my worth. Stopped measuring my value by their standards. And in doing so, I'd gained something far more valuable than any inheritance. I'd gained clarity, purpose, peace. The donation shocked everyone. But the real shock should have been that it was surprising at all. That we live in a world where giving away millions to help children is newsworthy, but hoarding millions is normal. That needed to change. And maybe my story could be part of that change.